The apartment stood as a modest, serene sanctuary nestled in the eastern part of Chicago, where the winter wind whispered through the crevices and wailed against the walls, while the summer heat lingered like an uninvited visitor. The atmosphere was steeped in silence, occasionally pierced by the soft, persistent hum of the aging refrigerator, which somehow resonated more than one might expect. This was my realm, or more accurately, the realm I had crafted for my own existence. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Elise Warren. At the age of 42, I find myself immersed in the world of medical coding, dedicating long, consistent hours at a bustling hospital in the heart of downtown. My existence had fallen into a rhythm as familiar as the soft groans of the timbered floor beneath my steps. A solitary bedroom, a couch that sagged under the weight of time, and a bathroom featuring a mirror I chose to sidestep. Now, I find myself in solitude, accompanied only by the gentle hum of the city that lies just beyond my windows. Long ago, my former husband Daniel Harper departed. One evening, amidst a meal laden with unvoiced sentiments, he murmured softly, "I don't love you anymore." With that, he gathered his belongings, pressed a gentle kiss to our son Jonah's forehead, and stepped out the door. Left with a toddler and a mortgage, I carried a heart that shattered quietly within me. I held back my tears for him, refusing to show any emotion in front of Jonah. Instead, I steeled myself, mastering the art of smiling amidst solitude, enduring the pang of vacant spaces. Jonah served as my steadfast anchor. From the moment he entered this world, he became my everything, my confidant, my source of joy, my dearest companion. We exchanged it all, from the warmth of Saturday morning pancakes to the intimate late-night conversations about his aspirations and sorrows. I believed our connection was indestructible, more intimate than that of most mothers and sons. Yet, I was discovering that life was intricate and chaotic, even in moments when you believe you've secured your sanctuary. When Jonah called to announce his return for spring break, a brief 2-week respite from his sophomore year at Michigan State, my heart performed a small somersault. It had been since Christmas that I last laid eyes on him. I meticulously tidied the apartment, filled the fridge with his preferred treats, blueberries, oat milk, those sweet yogurts he always feigned disdain for. As he stepped through the threshold, a wave of warmth enveloped the chilly apartment, transforming the atmosphere in an instant. Yet, he had transformed into someone entirely different. Jonah had matured, his stature more imposing, his features more defined, reflecting the journey of a young man discovering his identity. His voice had taken on a deeper resonance, yet his eyes, those gentle, contemplative eyes, remained as they always were. They appeared to harbor a multitude of inquiries that only he possessed the ability to resolve. He set his duffel bag down beside the sagging couch and offered me a shy grin, the very same one he'd worn since he was 6. "I'll just crash here," he said, patting the couch as if it weren't an ancient torture device for his back. I chuckled and dismissed him with a wave. "Absolutely not, Jonah. That contraption is a perilous hazard. The bed is entirely yours to claim." I still recall those nights from his childhood, when he struggled with back pain, and I would gently massage his shoulders until he drifted off to sleep. The bed was spacious enough for the two of us, a refuge we had occupied together during tempests and in the aftermath of unsettling dreams. I reassured myself that it was insignificant. Yet, on that initial night, as I lay next to him, attuned to the cadence of his breath, an unsettling flicker stirred within me. For a fleeting instant, his leg grazed against mine beneath the covers, and an electric tension coursed through my body. Not from a place of fear, no, yet from an unfamiliar, perplexing realm I was reluctant to confront. I pressed my eyelids together, summoning the embrace of slumber, yet my thoughts wandered back to a memory I had fought so hard to erase, a summer evening just before Jonah departed for college. We nestled together on the couch, engrossed in a delightfully cheesy 90s rom-com, his arm draped around my waist as it always was. Yet, on that particular night, a change occurred. His body drew nearer, his breath shifted, and an undeniable tension enveloped us. Neither of us withdrew, remaining steadfast in our connection. We remained suspended in silence until the credits came to an end. The following morning, he behaved as if nothing had transpired, and I yearned to convince myself that it was merely a figment of my imagination. Now that he has returned, that memory lingered with me, an unshakable shadow that refused to fade. Time flowed in an unusual cadence. I prepared his beloved dishes. We reminisced over classic sitcoms, engaging in conversation about his classes, his circle of friends, and the girl he'd been texting, though uncertainty lingered in his mind. It was a comforting sensation, one that resonated with a sense of nostalgia. Yet, there existed fleeting instances, serendipitous brushes, prolonged gazes, that sent a flutter through my core. I reassured myself that it was merely loneliness weaving its deceptive web, yet beneath the surface, I sensed a recognition that had eluded me for years. And that filled me with fear. On a tranquil evening, with the rain gently drumming on the windows, we reclined together, the apartment bathed in the soft light of a lamp. For the first time in ages, I found the courage to share my story with him, to speak of Lila, my dearest friend from college, the one I had confided in completely. I recounted to him the way Lila's betrayal had left me in pieces, how a voicemail, sent in error, unveiled truths that fractured my reality, and how I had carried the weight of self-blame for countless years. Jonah listened, his gaze unwavering and filled with intensity. "You didn't deserve that," he murmured softly. "You are worthy of a person who truly recognizes your essence. Who selects you." His words crashed over me like a powerful wave. Warm and heavy, it filled a void I had neglected for far too long. That evening, a subtle change occurred in our connection. Our conversation stretched into the night, lingering well past the hour. He confided in me about his fears and aspirations, the weight of navigating life independently. I shared with him the evenings when I dined on cereal, the quiet that pierced deeper than any sound. We were drawing nearer, not merely in physical proximity, but in a realm of unvoiced, perilous connection. Then the tempest arrived. The morning following the storm was refreshingly crisp and clear, yet within the confines of the apartment, the atmosphere felt dense, as if the silence anticipated a disruption, as though the stillness was holding its breath. Jonah had departed early for a meeting with a professor, his coat draped over his arm and a backpack haphazardly slung over his shoulder, yet I could still sense his lingering presence in the space he had just left behind. Seated at the kitchen table, I found my fingers wandering along the edge of a worn coffee mug, my gaze fixed on the dark liquid that reflected the tumultuous thoughts dancing in my mind. The previous night had marked a pivotal juncture, a delicate instant pulled taut between the realm of reality and the realm of impossibility. I found myself unable to cease the endless replaying of it. We sat closely on the couch, the rain pounding against the windows with the intensity of a furious drummer. The electricity danced momentarily, flickering twice before the light steadied, prompting me to grasp the throw blanket and cocoon myself snugly within its warmth. Jonah shot me a quick look before nonchalantly shedding his jacket and letting it fall to the floor. "I hate storms," he murmured, his voice barely rising above a whisper. "Same here," I offered a faint smile. "They evoke thoughts of all that lies beyond your grasp." He faced me, his eyes alight with intensity, probing deeply. "Elise, do you ever ponder the moments we've shared? Reflecting on our transformation since you first arrived here all those years back? Prior to my departure for college?" I took a deep breath. My mind wanders through a myriad of thoughts. My deepest desire is to shield you, to ensure your safety. At times, I find myself longing for a different outcome. He nodded slowly, his expression shifting, revealing a vulnerability I had never witnessed before. "I sense it as well. It feels as though a shift has occurred between us. Yet, it fills me with fear." I, too, confessed. We lingered in quietude, our voices lost to the void. The space that once separated mother and son had inexplicably diminished, the boundaries between them becoming indistinct. That night, When his hand grazed mine and hesitated just a moment too long, the world around us transformed. My mind urged me to retreat, to cease this perilous dance of intimacy, yet my heart proved unfaithful. Once he departed for his meeting, I found myself drawn to the window, observing as the somber sky gradually brightened, the clouds dispersing to make way for the hesitant embrace of sunlight. I experienced a paradox of emptiness and fullness simultaneously. An enigma that eluded my grasp. The subsequent days unfolded in an odd, dreamlike blur. Jonah stood in the room, yet he felt a world apart, navigating the delicate line between the innocence of youth and the weight of maturity, searching for equilibrium. We settled into a delicate rhythm of shared meals and casual conversation, yet each fleeting glance was charged with unvoiced tension. The past, the future, the present, all intertwined in a complex dance. One evening, I discovered him in the kitchen, pouring cereal into a bowl, his back turned towards me. "You're so quiet," I murmured gently. He cast a glance over his shoulder, a smile playing at the edges of his lips. "Merely pondering." "What is it about?" "All things. Existence, education, and your essence." The word, "you," lingered in the atmosphere, delicate as a gossamer strand. "Is there something weighing on your mind, Jonah?" He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. I find myself at a loss for words, unsure of how to express this without appearing unhinged. I extended my hand, gently placing it on his shoulder. "Challenge me." He inhaled deeply before speaking. "Sometimes it seems as though we have transcended the roles of mother and son. There exists, perhaps, something beyond this." I'm caught in a whirlwind of emotions, unsure whether to feel fear or a sense of relief. My heart thudded with an agonizing intensity. I yearned to offer him comfort, to express that confusion was a common experience, yet the reality was that I too was engulfed in the same turmoil. At times, I find myself murmuring, I ponder whether I am slipping into madness. We lingered in that moment, the air around us charged with an undeniable intensity. Later that night, after Jonah had drifted off to sleep, I found myself alone, my thoughts swirling within me like a tempest. From the highest shelf of my closet, I retrieved a small box, a treasure trove of memories, letters, photographs, and little tokens from a life that once was. Among them lay a weathered photograph of Lila, my dearest friend from college, her smile radiating a confidence I had yet to discover within myself. Contemplating betrayal and heartbreak, I reflected on the deceit that had fractured my trust, leaving me cautious of love. And yet, here I found myself, poised on the brink of a peril unlike any I had faced before, one not conjured by the hands of strangers, but rather by the very soul I held dearest in my life. The boundary separating love from the illicit faded away, leaving me unable to discern one from the other. The subsequent days unfolded as a tapestry woven with furtive glances, unuttered phrases, and serene interludes brimming with unexpressed emotions. The fragile boundary we endeavored to uphold grew ever more tenuous, and the burden of our secret loomed above us like a heavy mist, poised to smother all that we had cherished. Jonah and I navigated the apartment with a fresh sense of perception. Our dialogues, once effortless and relaxed, transformed into meticulous waltzes around the reality. The awareness of the dangers loomed over us, yet the magnetic force binding us together intensified, becoming an allure we could not deny. One afternoon, I found myself nestled on the couch, lost in the pages of a book, when Jonah entered from his part-time job. He appeared weary, yet that unmistakable spark in his eyes remained, the very spark that had captivated me from the very beginning. "Hey," he murmured gently, settling down beside me. "Hey," I responded, my heart pounding in my chest. He paused for a moment, then extended his hand, gently tucking a wayward strand of hair behind my ear. The contact sparked a jolt, sending a shiver coursing through my being. "Elise," he murmured, his voice heavy with feeling, "I can no longer conceal my emotions." I gazed into his eyes, filled with sincerity and a delicate vulnerability. My breath hitched. I do not wish to either, I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. The distance that once separated us vanished, and in an instant, his hand found mine, our fingers weaving together as though we were binding an unvoiced vow. The walls that once separated us started to fall away. That night, the tension shattered at last. Once Jonah had settled into slumber, I found myself in solitude, grappling with the tumult of my thoughts and feelings. The turmoil within me was excruciating, the awareness that this affection was taboo, yet it felt so profoundly authentic. Contemplating the future, I pondered the daunting choices that lay before me and the inevitable pain they could bring. Yet, above all, I found myself reflecting on those instances when Jonah's smile brought a sense of harmony to the world, when his touch sparked a profound connection within me. The following morning, Jonah seemed transformed, imbued with a newfound lightness and openness. We enjoyed a serene breakfast, and for the first time in ages, the apartment radiated warmth and brimming potential. Yet, the harsh light of reality soon made its presence felt. During my time at university, whispers began to circulate, and I noticed the wary glances from acquaintances and friends. The burden of scrutiny loomed over us, poised to unveil the secrets we both yearned to conceal. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the world, Jonah reached for my hand once more while we lingered on the small balcony. "Elise," he murmured gently, "I understand this is difficult. I am aware that the world may not grasp our essence, yet, it holds no significance for me. All I desire is to be by your side." Emotion surged, and tears brimmed at the edges of my vision. "Same here, Jonah. Above all else." We embraced tightly, the sun sinking beneath the horizon, enveloping the city and us in a warm, golden light, two souls intertwined in a love deemed forbidden, battling against the world and our own hearts. As time dragged on, the weight of our shared secret intensified, becoming increasingly burdensome with every fleeting moment. Elise and Jonah sensed the growing strain of their relationship, an unvoiced tension that lingered behind each smile, each touch, each fleeting moment they shared. The external realm appeared to constrict around me. At university, the murmurs intensified. Once warmly greeted by friends, Elise now found their eyes averted, while Jonah became acutely aware of the shifting dynamics in the interactions with both professors and classmates. Their bond seemed to weave an unseen veil, isolating them from the rest of the world. Elise found herself engulfed in a tempest of emotions, where fear, love, guilt, and hope danced together in a chaotic embrace. She understood that what they shared was both unique and invaluable, yet she was acutely aware of its delicate nature. A single misstep, a thoughtless utterance, and everything could unravel in an instant. On a brisk evening, following a day laden with fraught interactions, Elise found herself in solitude within their modest apartment, gazing out at the twinkling city lights. Jonah approached her quietly, encircling her with his arms from behind. His embrace enveloped me, a refuge in the midst of turmoil. "I can't bear to lose this," Elise whispered, her voice quivering with emotion. Yet, at times, it seems as though the entire universe stands in opposition to us. Jonah pressed his lips gently against the crown of her head. "We shall persevere through this challenge." In unison. Yet destiny appeared intent on challenging their determination. A week later, an anonymous message landed in Elise's university inbox, filled with rumors, accusations, and half-truths crafted to humiliate and sow discord. The administration summoned her for a meeting, and Jonah found himself confronted by icy gazes and inquiries that caught him off guard. Their once secure world was beginning to fracture. On a sunlit afternoon, Elise found herself face to face with her dearest friend, Lily, in the bustling campus cafe. "Is it really true?" Lily inquired softly, her gaze probing. "Do you stand with Jonah?" Elise paused, the burden of countless shared moments hanging in the balance of her response. "Indeed," she ultimately confessed, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. Lily's demeanor softened. "I shall refrain from casting any judgment upon you. Yet, one must tread with caution. Humanity often reveals its harshness. The support, though subtle, struck like a thunderclap against Elisa's weary heart. It bestowed upon her the fortitude to confront the trials that lay before her. Within the confines of their home, Elise and Jonah forged a solemn pact, vowing to uphold honesty and to stand by one another through every trial that life might present. Their love, once shrouded in secrecy, transformed into a wellspring of strength, a luminous beacon steering them through the tempest. On a tranquil night, bathed in the gentle luminescence of the moon, they found themselves seated on the balcony, fingers interlaced. "No matter what unfolds," Jonah expressed, "I want you to understand that encountering you transformed my existence." Elisa's smile glimmered, even as tears traced down her cheeks. "And you transformed my world." In that instant, they understood that love, regardless of its complexities or the barriers it faced, was a battle worth waging. In defiance of judgment, in the face of fear, and despite the odds, they would stand united, resolute.